Welcome to Cards Hub 365, powered by Gray Bar. This is, of course, Sports Hub STL, presented by DraftKings. The Crown is your Stefan, Caray, Joe Roderick here on a wonderful Tuesday afternoon as the Cardinals drop Game 1 against the Atlanta Braves in heartbreaking fashion. It has been tough sledding, to say the least, on the road this year for the Redbirds. Looking to make the adjustment tonight in Atlanta at Truist Park. Spencer Strider, as we mentioned in several shows before this one, has been put on the 15-day IL with some hamstring issues. No starter announced yet for the Braves, but let's dive into last night a little bit. I know we covered it in the post-game show yesterday. Really, it just goes back to the point that the Cardinals need to do everything right in order to win on the road at this point in time.
Yeah, and right now you kind of go back and forth of what the weakness is of this team, and it seems like all three facets just can't come together at the same time. And for a while, the offense was rolling, one of the best in all of baseball. And while the offense is still there, it was the starting pitching that wasn't getting you far enough. And now the starting pitching is giving you quality start after quality start. I believe 9 quality starts on the year. There's 3 teams, I think, that have 10 quality starts on the season. So the Cardinals coming in right below that as far as some of the best staff in baseball. But the bullpen is just such a huge issue right now. And that's something that we've seen really all year. I mean, we saw it early in the first week of the season in those extra inning games, and when they lost those leads. And this is 6 blown leads now for the Cardinals on the season. Those can't keep adding up when you're talking about a team that is resetting, rebuilding, and as a fan base, you're desperate for wins. 6 blown leads is not great.
Right, and there's some figures that support your claim here, Joe. Cardinals have been tied or leading going into the 8th inning in each of the last 2 games. Both resulted in losses. They have lost 5 of 11 games this year following opening weekend when tied or leading going into the 8th inning. The bullpen during this road trip, 0-3 with a 9.82 ERA. That's 12 earned runs in 11 innings pitched. They've allowed 12 runs in the 7th inning or later. For perspective, the Cardinals on offense for the entirety of the road trip have scored 15 total runs. So if the other team at this point in time is just hitting from the 7th on, they're still competing against the Cardinals' whole body of work from a game-by-game basis. And we saw a little bit more offensive consistency, more offensive potency last night. Contreras homering, Gorman had a good night at the plate, but still wasn't enough. I think that's the big takeaway if you're a Cardinals fan, how frustrating it has been, because they're putting themselves in a position to win some days on the pitching side, some days on the offensive side, but they're just not putting it together.
No, and what, 26th, I think, in ERA as a whole for that bullpen on the year right now. It's you knew going into the year, you knew that the staff, or at least you thought the staff, was not going to be as good as what they are right now. It's been pleasantly surprising what this pitching staff, what the starting rotation has accomplished through the first few weeks of the season. And you kind of looked at that and you said, okay, well, you know what, last year in a disappointing season, the bullpen was the strength. You got into late games, you had the lead, the 7th, 8th, 9th, you were shutting it down. And while there's been those little bright spots in the bullpen, Kyle Leahy has been really good. Phil Maton, outside of last night, Phil Maton has looked really good. Ryan Helsley, 1 blown save, but has also looked really good. That's 3 out of 7 guys in your bullpen. Those guys can't pitch every night. You need a lot more out of some of these other guys that you're needing to go to in back-to-back days, and they're just not cutting it. Are we seeing the end of Jojo Romero, who has been really good and a really solid contributor to this bullpen since he was traded for a few years ago? It's starting to maybe seem that way. Gave up 4 runs on 2 pitches last night when he was brought in. That's tough to do.
Yeah, certainly. And I mean, you look back to that 8th inning where things really spiraled out of control. Austin Riley with an infield single, initially ruled out. The ball was hit to Brendan Donovan. And this is something that, you don't want to fixate on too much, because Donovan has really been the main and sometimes only contributor for the Cardinals offensively this season. But he's not playing his natural position at shortstop. At what point do you question, hey, is his internal clock not quite there at short? Because he took that little stutter step, that little pump to throw to first. It was just with enough time. If you get Riley there, there's nobody on and 2 out.
Is I who would you have put there last night? That's
Right.
that's an issue
It's
that
not
tonight
really
should
a,
be fixed. Yeah,
right. It's
that
not
should be
really
fixed
a, I
tonight with
mean,
Mason Wynn coming back tonight. So when that happens, everybody kind of does move back to more natural positions then.
right. And that's the thing is I think everybody can look at the bullpen, but that's where things really unravel. That split second of putting that runner on first base with 1 out. And then from that point on, Maton had to go to work against the middle of the Braves order in a 1-run game on the road on a hot summer night. It's a difficult position to be in. And in no way am I blaming Donovan. I think it's just maybe a lack of experience at shortstop with that extra double clutch in that moment instead of trusting his ability to throw that ball over to first. But we'll see. He's been stellar defensively this year in every position you put him at. I just was curious on your thoughts of that play in particular.
Yeah, that one again, it's one that I'm not going to put any again, okay, you can sit here and you could say, oh, they're major leaguers, they need to make that play. The Cardinals went into spring training. They went into the entire roster formation of this team all the way back. I mean, you're talking about in February, early February, January. Let's go back even that, without any kind of safety net for Mason Wynn. They did that last year. They went out last year late in spring training. They got Brandon Crawford. And Brandon Crawford was not trying to be mean saying this, but it was useless to have him on your roster last year. Brandon Crawford did not provide anything for you at any point last year on the offense. He was there to be a safety net for Mason Wynn. Mason Wynn didn't need that safety net last year. And by the end of the year, Brandon Crawford was no longer on the St. Louis Cardinals once they realized that they didn't need him and he was just kind of taking up a space. They went into this year, I think, fully expecting Mason Wynn. I think that would have been 160 games or more is what they were expecting Mason Wynn to play this season. And if that's the case, you don't need a backup for that position. You don't need any. And they went as far to even go with Michael Ciani on the opening day roster over Jose Fermin, who I guess would have been your backup shortstop. So to say that, I mean, again, it's roster construction through and through with this team. And that's one of those where you can look at, if there's bad start after bad start, you can look at that and say, they should have spent money on pitching. You can look at the bullpen right now and you could say, maybe they should have went out and got another arm. The money they did spend was on Phil Maton, and that's been good so far outside of last night. But that's one that I can't be upset about anything regarding that because, again, Mason Wynn was supposed to play 160 games this year, and he winds up on the IL.
Right. And I think that again, Brendan Donovan, stellar defensive player. You could put him anywhere you want. And that was just a moment that the Cardinals got unlucky. It was a bang-bang play at first. In my honest opinion, and I know we're biased because we cover the Cardinals, I didn't see enough on that replay to overturn the call, certainly. So the Braves caught a break there by putting the tying run on first. And like you said, right, the 1 run, if it ends up being 1 run, they tie it, and then they walk it off in the 10th. We're having a whole lot more conversations about this play in particular. But they scored 5. So that's, I think, the biggest key is that it unraveled for the Cardinals. But that is a point that you can look back to and say, all right, there is where some pressure was put on. How do the Cardinals next time bend but not break? Now, turning our attention a little bit more to today, Atlanta has not named a starter, with Strider being on the IL. You assume it has a chance to be a bullpen game. You could see Bryce Elder maybe move up in the rotation and have a start ahead of schedule. I doubt that's what they do. They did acquire Scott Blewett for cash considerations from the Baltimore Orioles. He was an innings eater at times, so maybe that's how they do it. They piecemeal it together. Another big opportunity for the Cardinals. And again, you're asking them to win back-to-back games and a series. If they don't do that, at the very best, they're going to go 1-6 on this road trip. And that is really not palatable as they're already 1-10 on the road.
Yeah, looking through some of the people's Twitter accounts that cover the Braves, just trying to find anybody right now. And it looks like the only thing I could find, Mark Bowman of MLB.com, saying that they're going to go with an opener. So it's, it seems like they're going to get through that first inning and they're going to go from there with that. Cardinals haven't released their lineup yet either. I think it was around this time yesterday when they did announce that lineup. And when that lineup's announced, I imagine we'll also hear what's going on with Mason Wynn and who is going to be sent down or what that corresponding roster move is going to be. But if you're going with an opener, there's no reason to wait, I guess, to see what kind of lefty-righty matchups you need for that. The Braves are just going to play it straight the whole game, and they're going to do what they want to do as far as who you have coming up in the lineup.
Yeah, certainly not ideal for the Braves to have a midweek opener at this point in time. You'd like to see that at the end of a series, maybe on a Sunday or before an off day. But Atlanta disadvantaged by that injury from Strider. They might also have the option to bring somebody up from AAA. I'm not sure what their 40-man status is looking like right now. But the Braves offensively last night, they really put it to the Cardinals and have done more of the same. Pretty interesting statistic that I saw yesterday, and obviously did some basic addition from last night. After just 6 home runs the first 9 games for Atlanta, they now have 23 in their last 13, which is atop the major league ranks. So they have been driving the ball up and out of the ballpark. We saw Austin Riley and Sean Murphy leave the yard yesterday. And that's much more of a hitter's paradise than at Busch Stadium. And hopefully that doesn't become a major issue for the Cardinals pitching staff, because there are a lot of hitter-friendly parks that they're going to be playing in this season.
Yeah. By the way, looking through David O'Brien of The Athletic, saying here about an hour or two ago, the Braves added a right-handed pitcher by the name of Nathan Wiles to the MLB roster. So they also optioned a pitcher down to AAA after Monday's game. So Wiles, a starter, 3 starts for the Gwinnett Braves already this year. Could be a possibility. Braves say they still plan on using an opener, so could be a case of a guy to get through the first inning, and then you're going with Wiles as many innings as he can get you for that. So that's that's just as I'm scrolling through here trying to figure out what the Braves are going to do in this in their game tonight. But no, the home run thing for them. This was a historically bad start for the Braves this year, and they faced some really good opponents to start the year too that kind of feasted off of them and might have led to some of the, we talked about it a little bit yesterday, the Acuna comments. And even though he's not here at the moment, some frustration within the Braves organization right now, but they're on a hot streak at the moment. They sweep the Twins. They start off this series with a win, and there are too many good bats in that Braves lineup for them to stay cold as long as they were. I mean, we could sit here and talk all we want about the Cardinals' power struggles or the Cardinals' home run struggles that they're having at this point this season. But the Braves do not have, for this, you're kind of going, okay, maybe Wilson Contreras can hit 20. Maybe this guy can hit another 25. What kind of power numbers could Jordan Walker put up? You look at this Braves lineup. I mean, Verdugo, Riley, Ozuna, Olson's a guy. What, he hit 50 a few years ago with the Braves or close to it.
Right.
You have power after power in this lineup that does not even include Ronald Acuna at the moment. So for them to struggle the way they did at the beginning of the year was kind of an anomaly. And it's one of those cases where they're breaking out at the right time.
Right. And I think that another thing that we have to consider too is how good they are at situational hitting. Last night, you have a chance to tie it, runner on third. Michael Harris comes up, hit a sacrifice fly to right. And you and I have talked about this privately. We haven't seen that a lot from the Cardinals, a team that is designed to have to manufacture runs. Runner on third, runner on first, 1 out. Seen a lot of double plays, seen a lot of strikeouts, a lot of pop outs, not able to move that runner over. And that's what the elite teams are capable of doing. And there's no doubt in my mind the Cardinals will get there. They were doing it in spring training, just hasn't translated to the regular season. And I'm curious to hear what you think of this, Joe. Okay, we've talked about the magic number, 5 runs, 5 or 6. This is the first game for the Cardinals scoring 5 or more runs in a week. They've scored 5 or more just 4 times in their last 5 series against Pittsburgh, Houston, Philadelphia, the Mets, and the Braves. So that's really difficult when you're scoring 4 or less in about the last 15 or so games.
No, yeah, we have seen, the offense that we saw that first 10 days of the season, the book is out, I guess you could say, and they have kind of figured out how to pitch to some of these Cardinal hitters, and whatever adjustments they have made, the pitching's caught up to them at this point, because the offense just isn't there. And this is a team, like we just talked about with the home runs. This is a team that needs to produce. They need to put together those innings of 3-4 hits to score a few runs and put the ball in play. And I mean, perfect example of it yesterday in the game, the way they scored their first few runs, and that it was a case of putting the ball in play. You got the Gorman, you had the Gorman double followed by the single, and then the overthrow. You capitalize on mistakes and put a guy back at third base after scoring a run. Simple ground ball to the right side, scores you 2 runs. And so you take a leadoff double and you quickly turn it into 2 runs because you continue to put the ball in play and you continue to put pressure on the defense. And that's something that we talked about over the weekend. The Cardinals were at 5 for 25 in the 4-game sweep against the Mets. And how many times did they strike out with runners in scoring position of those 20 outs they made of in the 5 for 25? How many of those were strikeouts that they had of just not giving yourself any kind of chance at all?
Yeah, and I don't have that number on hand, but you have to assume it is a sizable amount because the Mets were racking up the strikeouts against the Cardinals, 42 of them in that 4-game series. But it's important to note that if the fans couldn't tell already, baseball season is officially underway, and it's time to step up to the plate with DraftKings Pick 6. Think of DraftKings Pick 6 as your fastball right down the middle. It's the easiest way to play for cash and take a shot at a big win. Just select 2 or more players and choose if they'll have more or less of a stat. Pick 6 is available in most states, including California, Texas, Georgia, Missouri, and more. Cash in your baseball knowledge. New players get $50 in Pick 6 credits instantly on just a $5 entry. So you want to download the DraftKings Pick 6 app and use code STL Sports. That's code STL Sports for new customers to play. $5, get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
If you are looking at baseball numbers on Pick 6, I will say Yordan Alvarez in 19 at-bats against Chris Bassett in his career, a .421 average with a .1263 slugging percentage, 5 home runs and a double for the big lefty from the Astros against the Blue Jays, Chris Bassett. Also, Shoto Imanaga starting for the Cubs tonight against the Dodgers. Tommy Edman has 2 home runs against Imanaga in just 5 at-bats in his career. So we just two little numbers to look at in the in today's Pick 6 when you're going in there and clicking higher or lower on some of those numbers, whether it's home runs or total bases or even just hits. For that, I'm throwing it out there. Yordan Alvarez against Chris Bassett, very, very good numbers.
Man, you're a good Samaritan giving out these plays for free, and I think that's wonderful to hear. Hopefully, there are some Cardinals that show up on that list tonight that people can cash in and cash out on. But again, tonight, 7:15 Eastern Time, 6:15 local time in St. Louis. Braves versus Cardinals. It's Andre Pallante on the mound, who didn't have a bad start his last time out, 6 innings, 4 earned runs, and has given the Cardinals a shot to win every time he's been on the mound. Now, his numbers against the Braves have been less than exemplary. He's 0-1 with a 12.15 ERA, 6 strikeouts in 5 appearances versus Atlanta in his career, but has only made 1 start, and that came on July 5th, 2022. He allowed 7 earned runs in 3 2/3, so hoping he can purge some demons in the Peach State this evening. But as
Austin Riley 3 for 3 against Pallante with a home run in his career. Yeah,
he just shows up on every list. It feels like every time. Just looking at his numbers, him and Marcell Ozuna, against every pitcher the Cardinals have, they'd show it on the FanDuel network, and the numbers were like 400, 500 against every pitcher that was coming in. They're like, how do you pitch to these guys? And of course, both of them had big games. Ozuna multi-hit game. Riley had a home run. So just hope the Cardinals can bounce back this evening. And I just wonder what you think. Is there an impact player you're looking at tonight here ahead of game 2?
I mean, I think you saw the 9th inning home run from Wilson Contreras. We've seen the signs of it outside of that first week. We've seen the tiny little signs here and there for that. I guess we're watching to see if that sparks anything leading into that home run yesterday, if that does anything for him tonight moving forward. You mentioned it. Nolan Gorman had a good night last night after really struggling in New York. So is that another one? Does he get an opportunity tonight too? Because that's going to be the big thing to watch. Thomas Saggese did not get the start last night in the game after Claves and I think spent the first 5 minutes or so talking about the impact that Saggese has made. Then the lineups come out and he's not even in the lineup for the game last night. So is that one, is he going to be in there, and are we going to get our first look at what the Cardinals are going to do with Mason Wynn back and how that kind of what that looks like everywhere else on this roster for the Cardinals? That's with the way Saggese's hitting. I'm very much looking forward to seeing how they go about implementing him into this offense with everybody else that they're hoping to get clicking at some point.
I think that the roster move that they make today will show everybody exactly who the Cardinals are prioritizing for the future. I think that if you see guys that are struggling remaining on the roster, then the Cardinals clearly have a plan for them. If you see Saggese getting sent down, they're not quite sure what his role is going to be. And I'm not speaking for the organization here, but the key right now is development. I think they've made that inherently clear, is that they want to develop Jordan Walker. They want to develop Nolan Gorman, Wynn, Liberator. They're young guys that they expect to be the core of this franchise moving forward. But there's a lot of things you could do. And, Walker's struggling right now. You could justifiably put Nootbaar in right and maybe have Donovan play left. But I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're sticking to the plan. They want to give Walker as much runway as possible. I saw a pretty interesting tweet yesterday talking about leaving Walker in right in late game situations because some fans feel as if he's proven himself defensively. They make a good point. I think they make a good point about that.
I think I saw the same one you did. He is a plus defender this year in right field. He has worked his ass off to become a very good right fielder in this Cardinal organization. And as we've said, if it's a runway season, if we are giving him every opportunity this year to prove that he is a big leaguer and he's going to be here for a long time, then I need to see it all. I need to see that defense again in a game in April when like that, leave him in there. If we're in September, if it's October playoff game and it's we're talking about that, then sure, yes, then put Michael Ciani in the outfield and move them around and maybe get Jordan Walker out of there. But if this is a reset season, if this is a runway for guys like Jordan Walker and Nolan Gorman, let him play, let him fail, let him make those big plays and show you what he's capable of. Just last week, we're sitting here talking about how Jordan Walker makes a play in right field, covering the most ground that any outfielder has covered this year to make a play and tracks it down. So I keep giving him those opportunities to prove that he can be a good defensive right fielder in Major League Baseball.
And I don't think anybody had thought that his offense was going to be a concern as a major leaguer a few years ago. And that's where he struggled a little bit to start his career. But I think what's important in looking at it from the perspective of an organization, and I think a lot of fans, even when he struggled early in, 2023, they said, let's give him a larger sample size. Let's not send him down after a few weeks. We don't want to ruin his confidence. Well, that same logic applies now. Even though he may be struggling, you've got to see what he can do over the course of a season so that you know what he is or you know what he isn't. And it's going to get frustrating at times, I'm sure, with some of the personnel on this team. But at least you will sleep well at night knowing how much talent you have and what players are able to be the cornerstones of your franchise moving forward or which ones aren't. Because who knows? Walker might have the best month of May offensively at the plate of any Cardinal in history. You never know. That could happen. Nolan Gorman could have turned things around yesterday. with that multi-hit game. You don't know unless you find out. And I think the organization has proven, based on what they've shown in spring training, the rhetoric that they've used, is that their guys are their guys right now. And win, lose, or draw, development is the most important thing.
My prediction for tonight, I'm going to go my prediction because I'm sitting here hitting refresh on the MLB lineups app. I'm sitting here hitting refresh on John Denton's Twitter. I'm sitting here just trying to find something before you and I finish up the show today. Just digging through all the Post-Dispatch guys too, just trying to find a little nugget. My prediction is Luken Baker goes down to Memphis. And my prediction tonight is Donovan. Do they go with him at DH? I don't know, maybe Nootbaar at DH and you put Donovan in left. That's one of those is my prediction for tonight, where it's the JC at second and Mason Wynn at short, and see how that goes.
Yeah, and I'm sure Victor Scott wants to play center field in front of all of his family and friends in Atlanta. So I don't think you have to worry about him needing down or
50 people there last night.
50 people. He's
Jordan Walker had people there too. They said that. I think it was the it might have been the radio side. I can't remember what I was saying, that Jordan Walker had family there, that they were going to buy tickets in the right field area and chirp at him during the game. So
they said they were his friends that grew up Braves fans, so they were really rooting against him in a spirited kind of friendly way. But I hope that he has a phenomenal homecoming. Jordan Walker is one of my favorite players to watch. He was, outside of Corbin Carroll, when I was in the Texas League in my first year in 2022, the best player I saw play there. So it is within him to be one of the best players on this team and one of the best players in the National League. He just needs to get that confidence back, and you see it at certain moments. So, I don't have anything really more to say about tonight, Joe. I'm sure you have some final thoughts before we head off here on 365, but Game 2 feels like a must-win. We've been saying that for like the last 5 or 6 days.
I think it was Brendan Schaefer who tweeted it the best last night, right around the time that the Winnipeg Jets scored was I think the exact moment that Nolan Arenado hit his 2-inch ground out to end the game, and said it was a really bad 15 seconds for St. Louis sports fans at that moment, right when you thought that stuff was starting to turn around and they had a chance. Didn't get much of a chance in that ninth inning with Arenado up at the plate.
Well, and sometimes that's the luck of the draw. The Cardinals, good credit to them for fighting late in that game, scoring 3, making it interesting, bringing the tying run to first base, getting the leading run up to the plate. It just didn't work out for St. Louis in Game 1. Hopefully that changes, and we'll have a very exciting post-game show to snap a 5-game losing streak. So for everyone here at Sports Hub STL, for Joe Roderick, I'm Stefan Caray. This has been Cards Hub 365, powered by Gray Bar. All content here is brought to you by DraftKings. The crown is yours. Game 2, 6:15 Central Time.